Hello and welcome to this Learning Nugget, Foundation for Effective Self-Development. In this Learning Nugget, I want to talk about why I think that attitude awareness is so important for our development. To explain this, I want to use the model around an iceberg as a metaphor. Now, the iceberg model has been around for some time, but we believe that it's very suitable to actually explain the role of self-awareness around attitudes and other aspects. Now let me go into the iceberg model and explain a bit to you. Now my belief is that when we go through life and we do things, we actually want to achieve certain outcomes. And that is what everybody sees. So the effects and the outcomes we create through our behavior is above the waterline of an iceberg. Everybody can see that one. In order to create these outcomes, really we need to show up with a certain behavior. Not everybody sees the behavior, therefore we place it below the waterline. Also considering that in very clear water you still see some of the behavior, but not everything, because it's more distant or is placed below the waterline. And here you have a very clear choice what kind of behavior you actually show up with. Do you comply with pressure from the outside and do as you think other people expect you to behave? Or do you make a clear choice what is reasonable, suitable for the situation, and what is a behavior that fits yourself? And there we come to the point that is deeper in the iceberg, deeper in the water, not really visible, the key driver for our behavior. And we call it the inner self. Now the inner self is a very complex thing, and I don't want to give you a psychological lecture here. I want to point out a number of key aspects I think are very important when we talk about what drives our behavior to create certain outcomes. Now let's have a look at a number of aspects of the inner self, what I call the key components. And one of the key components is our attitudes. The other is our beliefs, our inner drivers, and our values. Now, our attitudes are ways of thinking when we approach a certain situation or a conversation, what we think about people, what we think about ourselves in terms of what needs to be done. That's a kind of attitudes, and we will come back to them a number of times in different modules. Our beliefs are actually coming from a point of our experience, our conditioning, our upbringing, and the way we went through life where we had positive and negative experiences, and beliefs which help us to actually go through situations. And sometimes we have beliefs which kind of block us to do things. Limiting beliefs, we call them. So sometimes we're in a situation where we think that's not possible. It may well be possible, but because of our experience, we think it's not possible. So it's limiting our course of action. The next part, our inner drivers, are for me the source of energy. The inner drivers is really what brings us up into work, what motivates us, what lets us invest energy and time in certain activities. They're deep-rooted in our personality and really the powerhouse of ourselves. The fourth one is our values. Now, our values are the compass for our life, maybe the boundary conditions we want to live within, where we think this is right and outside is wrong. So sometimes we lose sight of the values and we need to go back and really reflect and say, what does it really mean for us? And is it alongside what we consider as true and is important, or is it outside this area we want to operate in? Now we will use the iceberg model over and over again when we go through some of the modules and we go through some of the group coaching sessions. I'd like to invite you now to reflect for yourself a moment and think about really what are my attitudes when I think about my behavior and the outcome I'm creating. What kind of attitudes do I show up with that drive my behavior in a particular way? What beliefs do I have, the positive ones, which I think they help me to create situations and positive outcomes, and what beliefs do I have based on some experience which are more limiting, and create some more awareness about your inner drivers. What really gets you up in the morning? What excites you? What motivates you? Bring more clarity and more awareness in that level of your drivers in your life, and also your values. What's really important to you? What kind of life do you want to live? Who do you want to be in terms of what's really valuable? Now, going back to the attitudes, in one of the modules, we will actually focus first on the attitudes, because these are the key drivers also for leadership development. And now take a moment and maybe scribble down some things and really think about, what are my attitudes and what kind of attitudes I have which are helpful, and can actually see some of the attitudes being less helpful than the others. Just take your time and think about that one. And when you ready in a pre-work, you will get more at the web workshop, and we dive into the subject matter of attitudes, maybe at some point on beliefs and inner drivers and values.